excited to welcome you to our new series, our off-grid cabin in central Portugal, and we're building a tiny house. Very, very exciting. So you can follow along each week as you see our progress. And with no previous cabin building experience and no house building experience, but we did build out the interior of our camper van, the sub, 4 years ago. So it's going to be very exciting. So there's something very romantic, I think, about a cabin in the woods. Something that I've dreamt about many times in the past, and I know that Missy and I have talked about it. And when you see images on Facebook and Instagram of beautiful cabins in a lovely setting, here on the wildlands in such a beautiful rural area and with such a lovely view across the mountains, it's going to be absolutely stunning living in a cabin. So welcome back to episode 3, and we're going to do a tour of the cabin so far. So we start off, we had our friends John and Nicola and Mickey over to help us and Paul get the frame of the veranda and the balcony up.
That was very heavy.
It was very heavy. So that's now been bolted on to the front of the cabin, and then the rest of the veranda is slowly going up and taking form. So we'll show you that now. Get a better idea of how the veranda and the balcony are going to look. So we've got natural joists to put down on both the veranda at the bottom and the balcony above, and obviously the balcony will form part of the roof, or be essentially the roof for the veranda. So that's very nice. That means Rosie will be able to sit outside even when it's wet. So yes, it's all starting to take shape, and you can really get a feel now for what it's going to be like. And it's quite a big space inside, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's even though we planned it, it feels roomier than I was expecting. Yeah. Although that said, we haven't added the stuff on the walls, which might make it feel a little bit smaller, and then extra stuff on the floor. It's all going to get a little bit, but Rosie wants it really cozy. She loves cozy, so she wants enclosed spaces. I think she's going to love it.
She's already so excited.
Yeah.
So inside on the downstairs, in the middle of the room, we've got a hatch ready for the stairs. So where the ladder is now being demonstrated by Missy is where the stairs are going to be. So essentially they're going to form a partition between the front and the back of the cabin. So this area that we're in here, the back of the cabin, if you can visualize it, along the back here, Rosie wants a desk and storage area, and then this section here I think will be for some kind of gaming stroke TV area, which is obviously also important to Rosie, and then shelves and cupboards up here. And then over that side, what's happening there?
We've put in a couple of windows at Rosie's request. So there's another desk is going under there because she specifically said she wanted natural light to be able to fall on the desk, so when she's doing art. chosen to, we were going to use foraged windows or reclaimed, and then we decided to actually buy new double glazed ones because it's better to keep the warmth in, and they slide open as well so she can get a nice breeze. The windows are almost opposite each other to get a nice cross breeze through. And then I think more shelves. She's just really up on lots of shelves, she loves knickknacks, so it's going to be very...
Well, it's something she's missed in the van, the lack of space to store things and collect things, so she's actually avoided collecting things, which she loves to do to a point because she's got nowhere to put them. So when we were still travelling in the van, she would collect things up for the 3 or 4 months that we were out, and then we'd have to drop them off at my mum's, her grandma's, and then she had room for more collecting. So she wants to restart her joy of collecting, and that's not just buying collections, it's things she finds, it's little
so many sticks and stones,
all kinds of stuff.
So I think that's going to look, it's going to look really eclectic in here when she's done decorating. So those are the windows.
And don't forget, we did forage 2 windows at the front.
That's true, yes, I'd forgotten. Yes, we do have 2 reclaimed windows as well. So the opposite end of the cabin is the door, which is reclaimed from some old house in Portugal. And then either side of that, we've gone for windows. They don't open, but they will provide lots and lots of natural light coming in the front of the building. And
we're going to fit those very soon. Unfortunately, one of them blew over in the wind and got a cracked pane.
So, such a shame that. They were perfect and ready to go in, but never mind.
So we've got to find a glass merchant in Castelo Branco and get that recut, and then we'll have to fit a new window in, but it's part of the fun. Yeah, they're going to look great. And then the upstairs, as you go up the stairs I just mentioned, we're going to have a very high, or hopefully very high, apex roof. I wanted it to have the feel of an A-frame, but obviously having a downstairs like this, it's not an A-frame per se. And then the upstairs is going to have enough head height so that Rosie can walk from the stairs. And on this end, she's having a double bed.
A double bed?
Yeah.
That's mad.
It is mad.
But why not? Because she's got the room.
And then at that end, there is still space for blow-up beds or 2 single beds so that she can have a spare room or friends over and that kind of thing. For sleepovers, so that's exciting. And
then when you go out when you're at the far end there'll be another door leading out onto her balcony. Which won't have any kind of roof covering, so the balcony is nice for nice weather. She can go and sit out there and enjoy the view and read a book or whatnot. But if it's raining, she comes downstairs and uses the porch instead.
So I'm quite jealous.
I am too.
I get to stay in our rickety old van, and Rosie gets a brand new lovely cabin in the woods.
Rosie's going to be 15 at Christmas, so it's about time she had her own space. Oh, also, while we're talking about this, I wanted to mention this. We've had a few comments from people saying Rosie would be glad to get out of her tent. She has not been living in a tent. She lives in the van with us. She's got a very comfy private bed and everything. It's just time for her to have a bit more space. And her tent has just been for chilling in with her friends and doing art and things like that.
Yeah, she does all of her resin in her tent.
Yeah.
And it has been a great space. And we're thinking of moving the tent because we have a lovely geodome to put up from GeodomeX, which is another story and another video altogether. But we've been gifted a dome, or I requested a dome, and they gifted it to us in exchange for us making a video on it. So just behind us here, if you can imagine seeing through that wall, I think the dome is going to go there, which is near Rosie's tent. And then we're thinking of moving the tent, possibly even putting our cabin where the tent is, because when we finish Rosie's cabin build, as I mentioned in episode 1, we'll be doing our bathroom and shower build, and then when that's finished we'll be building our cabin.
So that's like 5 years worth of building, just all planned.
And in between, or somewhere amongst that, we've also got to put the geodome up.
Yes.
And do gardening.
And you want to
we're
build
also
a new
building
garden.
a new garden. We're building a market garden.
Ridiculous.
For next year's season. So there's a lot on at the Wildlands.
It is lots. But we're nearly at the end of summer. It's been hot this year. Not as hot as last year, but it has been hot. So we're only being able to work for 3 or 4 hours each morning. We have to knock off at about midday. And I'm so looking forward, because at the end of August, as we move into September, the temperatures come down. And instead of working for 3 or 4 hours, we're going to be able to work all day long and get loads done.
Yeah.
And then there'll be great progress.
So the cabin's going to slow down a little bit now because our budget is piecemeal depending on the performance of our events that we run. So at the moment we have spent all our available funds, so there is no more work per se, although there is still a lot to do, because I can start perhaps on the cabinetry here. We do have already the insulation for the floor, so we can start that. Paul is obviously still working on the veranda end, and that needs flooring out. And we can put the door up.
Yeah, lots still to do. And we had planned it that way. We knew that the money was going to run out and we'd have to pause, but we decided rather than wait until we've got all the money in a big pot, which might take a bit of a long long time, we should get started with what we have and make the most of working in the dry. Because the other thing that can happen in September is the rains can potentially come. And last year we had a little bit of rain in September and it waited till October, but you just never know what's going to happen with the weather these days, do you?
No.
So if it buckets it down.
And the rain here can be what I always describe in our videos as a biblical. It's like tsunami level of rain, isn't it? It's horrendous rain.
A lot.
Or great rain. It's the other thing, if we don't have the roof completed and on before the rain comes or is due, then we're going to have to tarp the whole building to keep her dry, so particularly as we don't have the cladding. So we don't want the OSB to get terribly wet, although OSB is fairly watertight, but it's all things to think of with September looming. Obviously we've got the whole of August.
I still think it was sensible to get this up, because then if we waited until September we'd be building this whole construction in the rain, which would be harder. So it's good. I think I have high hopes that the whole thing is going to be long since finished by Christmas.
I hope so.
That was always the plan.
Then you finish the upstairs. We've got all of the OSB down on what is essentially the roof of the first floor and the second floor where Rosie's bed is going to be, that I mentioned a minute ago. So that's all ready to go, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Oh, that was hard work as well. Pushing those OSB boards up and trying to get them flat. And then Dom suffers from vertigo, so he can't go up a ladder higher than 2 or 3 steps, which is why in some of the videos you see me with my hand on his back just so that he doesn't get too wobbly, which meant that I had to go up on the ladder and on the roof, which was a little bit scary, and put all of the screws in around the outside and do all of the nail gunning. And I'm usually just the person that holds things and lifts things, and I don't tend to use power tools at all, but I kind of had to, didn't I?
You did.
And my first couple of screws were not great.
And hit me on the head.
They did not hit you on the head, but they went through the OSB and out the other side. Yep. So it took me a little while, but you know, I've got the hang of it now. You've got to try stuff, haven't you?
Practice makes perfect, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not like we built a house before, is it?
No.
A bit of feedback as well. A couple of people were concerned about our joists and offered us advice. So you'll see on the joists above, they're very close together, probably actually more joists than we require, as this is really thick, big timber. But on the floor below us, what we hadn't explained or shown is the OSB that we're currently standing on is like the wall OSB, and it's really just to keep the rodents out and make it completely sealed, because on top of here we've got battens, and in between those battens we've got high density insulation, and then on top of that we've got 18mm OSB still to come, which is basically floor. And also what we also haven't shown is when we filmed the floor going in, we have since put more joists in over the areas of high traffic. So we've put 2 extra big joists by the front door and 2 extra joists to the left of the stairs where there'll be more traffic. And then in here there is a lack of joists because under here is all furniture, so there's going to be no load bearing there. So we have done our research, and Paul is a builder, so he has given us advice. But
we've popped in these little braces, you can just see, just to give it a little bit of structure so it's not too, doesn't fall over sideways.
No, but people who've actually seen it in the flesh have said we've, as always with my builds, it's over-engineered. We wanted it to last, we wanted it to be strong.
Yeah, we used the most ridiculously huge bolts and huge, enormous bits of timber and so on.
Yep.
It feels solid, doesn't it?
It does feel very solid.
And the wind's catching it. Now that we've got walls on both sides, although there's a couple of gaps here and there, the wind's hitting it on the side and it does not shake.
So thanks to those that offered us their advice and feedback as builders, or people that maybe built something before, which we have not, so it's much appreciated. So keep those comments coming. I'd also like to thank everybody that's been supporting us on Buy Me a Coffee. It's always truly appreciated. So much generosity there. We have updated our wish list this week as well, so if you want to have a look at those. And
I've been posting little sneak peeks of the cabin on Patreon and occasionally on Buy Me a Coffee as well, just to keep you a little bit ahead of everyone else.
On Patreon we've been making a real effort to make sure that the videos go up there first, and I think the last half a dozen or so at least have gone up a day or two before YouTube. And for those of you that have supported us on Buy Me a Coffee, even though it's different to Patreon, we are also putting the videos up there in advance. So if you've donated through Buy Me a Coffee at any point in our YouTube history, you can get to see the video a day or two early as a little thank you from us, and lots of photos going up there of the cabin build, sneak peeks. So I really just wanted to not waffle too much, but say a big thank you from us for your help and support on Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon. And also don't forget to leave us a comment and let us know what you think of the cabin build, and we'll see you very soon with episode 4.
Exciting. Bye.